Okay, let's just dive right in. Welcome to this explainer on what is easily the most fascinating, meticulously planned prison break in American history. We're unpacking a story that starts as a daring heist on an inescapable fortress and then somehow morphs into a decades-old cold case that literally still puzzles investigators today. So picture this. It's the morning of June 12th, 1962. A loud, shrill siren starts wailing from the very top of Alcatraz. It's a sound almost no one had ever heard used for a real alarm. An early morning bed check had just happened, and guards realized 3 inmates were completely missing from their cells. But it's what the guards actually found that is so crazy. Instead of bank robbers Frank Morris and the brothers John and Clarence England, guards found these hyper-realistic dummy heads tucked right into the pillows. The ingenuity here is wild. They made them out of a mix of soap, toothpaste, concrete dust, and toilet paper. Oh, and to top it off, real human hair swept up from the prison barbershop floor. It was just realistic enough to fool the guards in the dark. So how in the world did these three guys vanish into thin air? Part 1. Engineering the escape. To really wrap your head around what they pulled off, you have to look at this number, 36. During Alcatraz's entire 29-year run as a federal penitentiary, 36 prisoners were involved in various escape attempts. Most were caught, some were shot, a couple drowned. But this plot? Orchestrated by Frank Morris, a guy with a documented genius-level IQ of 133, yeah, this was on a totally different level of sophistication. For 6 whole months, they worked in absolute secrecy. They widened the ventilation ducts in their cells using canteen spoons, discarded saw blades, and even an improvised drill they made from a broken vacuum cleaner motor. And to hide the noise, Morris would just sit there playing his concertina accordion. They even got into a secret rooftop workshop where they built a 14-foot life raft using 50 stolen and donated prison raincoats. And the craziest part? They copied the raft's design straight out of a popular mechanics magazine they literally found in the prison library. Section 2. Breaking out of Alcatraz on the night of June 11th. Moving incredibly fast, the men execute this flawless timeline. They wait for the 9:30 p.m. head count, then slip through the vents they've been chipping away at. They climb up an unguarded utility corridor's plumbing pipes all the way to the roof, squeeze through a huge ventilation shaft, and literally shimmy down a bakery smokestack. Finally, they cut through some barbed wire and launch that raincoat raft from the northeast shore. Unfortunately, they had to leave a fourth accomplice behind, a guy named Alan West. He had patched up his vent with cement to hide his work, and it ended up hardening shut. By the time he actually broke through, the others were completely gone. Part 3. Presumed drowned and the FBI investigation. Just think about what they were up against here. Would you risk a 1.5-mile swim in 50-degree water? The bay is notorious for rough, bitterly cold water filled with lethal undertows. We're talking currents that can easily sweep a swimmer straight out to the Pacific. Not to mention the leopard sharks native to the bay, scavengers perfectly capable of disposing of a drowned body. And honestly, the official findings matched that grim picture. The FBI justified closing the case in 1979 because of a few key discoveries. They found a waterproof bag floating in the bay containing the Anglin's personal photos, plus some wooden oars and deflated life vests. To the FBI, it was highly unlikely these guys would abandon their only worldly possessions if they had actually survived. Plus, in July 1962, a Norwegian freighter reported spotting a body floating 15 miles offshore in a Navy coat, something that looked a lot like a prison uniform. So, based on all that, the FBI concluded they drowned. Section 4. Did they actually survive? The modern cold case. Because as we map out this modern timeline, you can see how these really explosive new clues just keep bubbling to the surface over the decades. Long after the FBI slammed the door on the investigation, family members and scientists have brought forward new, incredibly compelling pieces of the puzzle. Take this, for example. In 2013, the San Francisco police got this jaw-dropping handwritten note. The writer claimed to be an 83-year-old John Anglin. He states that Frank Morris lived until 2005 and Clarence Anglin died in 2008. The guy writes that he has cancer and actually offers a deal. He'll reveal his exact location if they promise on TV that he'll serve no more than a year in jail and receive medical treatment. The FBI lab tested it for DNA and fingerprints, but the results came back entirely inconclusive.
And then there's the science. Backing up the survival theory, a team of Dutch coastal engineers in 2016 used state-of-the-art 3D hydraulic software to recreate the exact tidal flows of San Francisco Bay on the night of June 11th. Their findings? Survival was entirely possible, but they had to hit a super narrow launch window between 11:30 p.m. and midnight. If they launched right then, the outgoing tide could have carried them safely to shore. Interestingly, the model also showed that if they had headed straight for the nearest landmass, Angel Island, like they originally planned, the currents would have fatally swept them out to the ocean.
We have to objectively weigh the facts here. On one side, we have the U.S. Marshals' deep skepticism. They point out that in a supposed 1975 photograph of the brothers down in Brazil, the men have short arms, but the real Anglins had notoriously long arms. Plus, the harsh realities of the freezing water and sea life-destroying bodies makes a lack of physical remains pretty plausible. But on the other side, we have those Dutch scientific flow models, verified reports of a stolen car on the mainland that very same night, and the Anglin families swearing their mother received signed Christmas cards and roses for years after the escape. Which brings us to right now. The U.S. Marshal Service took over the case in 1979, and their warrants are still incredibly active. They have publicly stated they will continue to hunt these escapees until they are either arrested, proven dead, or hit 99 years of age, which happens in 2030. So I leave the final verdict to you. Did Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers succumb to the treacherous, freezing waters of the San Francisco Bay, or did they actually pull off the absolute perfect, legendary prison break of all time?